Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 21 of What If Naruto Had a New Dream That Will Change Everything. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this stuff with your friends in your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was the direct descendant of the sage over an Anime King, and enjoy that guys. And he also posted a brand new episode over Anime King 3 of What If Naruto Was Betrayed by Hagoromo. Yes guys, I have 3 channels, and if you're new, go ahead and click that red subscribe button. Links will be in the description for Anime King and Anime King 3 for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click those red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Naruto went around starting a ruckus as he caused many distractions and many surprise attacks on the shinobis, until all of them gather as they start to fight him. But standing there with Zana powers running through his coils, Naruto was unstoppable and untouchable as he humiliated each and every one of them, beating them down. As he then left off, as Navi felt the flare of chakra, she went over there as well. As the 3 girls were there, Hinata, Sakura, and Tenten, as Naruto came and picked them up. As he brought them out here, Snazzy saw him, as he got married to Zana right there and then. Snazzy had enough as she went in to attack him, but brute strength crashed against brute strength, as Naruto ended up kissing her. She punched him away, as he said his goodbyes, and he flashed away and he was gone with Zana. Later that night, Snazzy had a capsule as he had placed a capsule in her mouth when he had kissed her, as she used it as it summoned him, as he wanted to talk to her, as he did all of this for her, making sure to take off some of the heat off her back for him, well, deserting the village, as he hoped that she gave him a badass bingo book entry. Also, Zana wanted to talk to her, he didn't know why. Zana came in there, Snazzy was a bit hesitant, given that she knew who Zana was now, as Zana told her something. When Naruto was younger, she hated Naruto, but seeing the boy cry and accept his fate, as he didn't deserve something like that, and she had took care of him. But when he left the mindscape when he was younger, he didn't remember anything outside, and he took to her as a mother. But then after a couple of years, when he was able to enter on his own, he didn't remember that part, and it was ingrained in his mind though. Anything Zana asked him for, no matter what, even if he didn't want to do it, he would do it after a while. If she told him to do something for her, he would do it no matter what, as he had this connection with her, as it is just programmed into his system. After all, it happened when he was a young baby. As Snazzy realized if it wasn't for Zana or Ayam, this village would probably be destroyed a long time ago, as she couldn't believe how much things they did to him. A week passed after that as Snazzy wrote the bingo book entry. Neji had become clan head as Hayashi had stepped down. The bingo book entry was, well, really vivid, as Naruto was a double S-class missing inside. She made it so most people decide against going up against him. She all put some of his, well, perverted lingers in there, so many females also know to stay away from him, so they wouldn't try to kill him for his fee. As the bingo book entry started to spread all over the elemental nation, as a month passed after that, as we had resumed at Kirin, with Killer Bee speaking about Naruto. So yeah guys, so it's basically that's what I thought you guys can switch across the place and check out yourself. So this is begin this new episode. Whoa, Mr. 9. Sounds like a badass, but I wonder, has he got any class in Killer Bee? He looked over his brother's shoulder, as he was looking at the bingo book with Naruto inside. What the hell is that supposed to mean, B? He demanded. Actually, never mind, I don't want to know. What I do want to know is, if we can get him to join Kumo, now that he's defected from Konoha, it would be mighty fine to have Mr. 9. But, what if he steps out of line? A. Recall the times when he clashed with Minato Namikaze, also a SS rank shinobi. He wasn't even able to touch a man because he was too fast. The man's son didn't sound like a speed demon though, If anything, he was a brute force fighter, considering his size and weight. Then again, A himself didn't look that fast because of his bulky stature, but he was the fastest man alive. As he grimaced, thinking about what fighting Naruto would be like. It would be like fighting his own father, but with the addition of super fast healing. That would suck. And they didn't take in account that the boy could control the nine-tailed fox. The demon fox was a mysterious entity compared to the other Bijous, rarely seen and never been sealed. There was no telling what kind of power Uzumaki could bring forward with the nine tails fully under his control. A looked at the picture as he wondered if this was because of the nine tails, give them that feral appearance, or something else. B didn't look any different, despite having the Aksabi sealed inside of him after all, so he suspected that it was more likely the result of being a sage. There was very little information on Senjutsu that was granted to Kumo, unfortunately, so all he had was guesswork. His personality of the file showed that there was no danger in simply asking him if he wanted to come to Kumo, but there was immense danger of trying to take him by force. It was also implied that his sudden killing spree in Konoha was caused by some provocation. A had no idea what that provocation was, but it might have been severe, or the Kaibijin Julke was just not fully sane. That won't be a problem as long as we don't do anything aggressive, either side. As long as we just want a meeting. We can decide if we even want him to Kumo afterward, he said. It was more diplomatic, but, well, they wouldn't want to make an enemy of this guy. A was tempted to send a Kunoichi to seduce him when he read that the man was a pervert, but that was quickly thrown out of the door when he read the other part. The ideas still had some merit to get the man to join Kumo, but still, he didn't know. After all, to get that powerful, you needed something to drive you, and driven men weren't swayed that easily by a pretty face and easy parted legs, even if they were perverts. Of course, there was the option of just taking the Kyuubi, but A wasn't confident enough in the sealing ability of Kumo to attempt that one. It had attempted in the past, and it was a disaster. Rumor was that the fourth Hokage had to summon the literal death god in order for the sealing to properly hold the great demon. That sounds cool, but how are we gonna get a meeting with this fool, said B. That was a good question. They had no idea where the man was. We'll just have to keep our eyes open in case any of our shinobis come across him. I'll have a team with a Kunoichi on rotating standby at all times to act as messengers, said A. That's pretty slick. Trying to get him to think with his stick. But if the ladies get wind of this, they will see you as a prick. God damn it, B. Cut it out with the rapping already, said A. Meanwhile, at the sand, Gar placed on the bingo book as he took a deep sigh. Being one of those who knew what Naruto's relationship was with the Biju, full synchronization wasn't what the others thought it meant, and he was sure that Naruto didn't kill all those people without a good reason. He didn't know the blonde all that well, but he knew him enough to assume that. In any case, Gaara was not going to act on this event. If Naruto wished it, there was a place for him here in the sand. He didn't think the blonde powerhouse was going to come around, but he would be welcome as a friend, on the chance if he did. At Kiri, so Uzumaki went rogue, did he? I gotta say, I wasn't expecting that. He didn't seem like the type, said Zabuza, as they just finished reading the bingo book entry. Oh yes, that's right. You did mention that you met him before, haven't you? Said Mei, as she ran a finger over the photograph in the bingo book. This Uzumaki Naruto was quite the interesting sounding man, and she would have liked to meet him. Yeah, not long before I returned to Kiri. But he didn't look like this back then, said Zabuza. What do you mean, said Ayo. Well, his eyes were blue and he didn't have claws, and he didn't have those black markings on his face either, said Zabuza. What about his teeth, said Mei. Those he did have, but I have no idea why. Probably having to do something with the Kyuubi, said Zabuza. He was wondering about those teeth himself. It finally made sense now as his Jinchuriki status was revealed. Perhaps he left Konoha because he wanted a younger Kage. Mei said to herself, not really expecting the answer. I don't think age has anything to do with it, Mizukage-sama, said Ayo, with a sweat drop. Mei eyebrow and twitch. Age? Old? Old Mizukage? I'm with Ayo on this one. He seemed like a womanizer back then, and with this little bit of intel that we receive, back it up. Any pairs of breasts that he see, he goes after it and he dropped them quickly after, said Zabuza. Mei eyebrows started to twitch. Breasts? Drop? Drop? Sag? Sagging breasts? Besides, we have no idea where Uzumaki might be. We can't even find him. Let him join Kiri, said Ayo. By now, Mei was shaking with anger. Old Mizukage, with sagging breasts, has nothing to offer Uzumaki? Ayo, Zabuza, she whispered. Both men turned their heads slightly. Shut up, or I'll kill you, she said. Both men looked at each other, surprised. What the hell did they say? Meanwhile, at the hidden stone. Huh, so the monster son of the monster father, Oniki said gleefully. He was quite pissed off to know that Minato Namikaze had a son. Well, he couldn't really do much about it. By the time he learned of it, Jiraiya took him out of Konoha and vanished for 3 years. It kind of pissed him off that the son was a SS rank ninja. And so young as well. But the fact that he deserted from Konoha, well, that made up for it. Should we send assassins after him, Gramps? Kurosaki asked with a smirk. No, don't be ridiculous. Anyone other than me wouldn't stand a chance against someone like him, said Oniki. As Oniki knew about the powers of sages, and that wasn't really something you would mess with. Not to mention the other info in the bingo book. While Oniki didn't believe that this brat had the same skills of the Harashin like his father, there was many things that would make you, well, pause and think about things. Given the fact that the boy was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, that information was at the top of the list. After all, having that powerful beast sealed within him, make him beyond strong, then any one of them could really understand, if he was able to use the full power towards his will. Just how much stronger has he gotten? You getting scared in your old age, Gramps. Konoha is probably just exaggerating its strength to make themselves look better, said Kurosaki. I doubt it. Besides, if they did do that, there's no benefit for the Hidden Stone if we go and pick a fight the powerful missing in. Kurosaki was silent for a moment as she considered that. It was a good point, she had to agree. How about getting to join the Hidden Stone then, she asked, smirking once again. Oniki nearly choked on nothingness at the suggestion, as he never considered that. It took him a few seconds as he discarded the idea. The sudden defection was, well, surprising. For all he knew, it was a trick for them to make Uzumaki enter another hidden village and wipe it out with the Kyuubi's power. I mean, whoever heard of a Jinchuriki defecting? The thing with the Rokibai Jinchuriki I carried didn't count, because that was during a civil war. It's too risky, even if he doesn't have any nefarious plans. He can't be trusted. We have no idea what goals a man like that has. Meanwhile, as Naruto sighed, as he ran his hand over his sleeping wife, naked rear end, they were currently resting in a hammock. Naruto wasn't sure what to expect out of the hunting grounds of the wolf tribe, but he was impressed. It was a vast valley that could only be reached through a lot of tunnels and maze system. The valley still had scars from Zana's rage, but it had healed over well. According to her, after she was done, it was a hellscape of pure destruction. But it was once again nice. Most of the craters were filled in, either with water, to form lakes, or earth, or vegetations. Even animals made their way back to it, as it was once again vibrant with life. There was more natural energy here than for some part of the world. Even though, not for Mount Miyaboku though, it had more. He had to absorb it though, as there was no need for that. Know that he could measure its lifespan in centuries, as he didn't want to take all the excess natural energy in the world. After all, it has been 2 months now since they've been here, and it was the most relaxing 2 months since neither one of them bothered wearing clothes anymore. They spent their days making love, sleeping, swimming, and many other things. He didn't really stop training. After all, he had all the time in the world. He was just taking it easy. He kept up the resistance seals because there was no way in hell he was going to let himself lose the muscle tones. He had worked too hard to bring his body to the peak of physical perfection to let it deteriorate, as he also reduced the time that it took him to lock onto a Harashin beacon. Instead of a minute, it only took 10 seconds now. Not enough to make it combat worthy like his father, but still better than before. One other project he was working on that had nothing to do with getting stronger, and that was creating a water bed, condensing water and using food and jutsu to keep it that way. It was tricky, but it could be done. It could be fun to be able to sleep on a bed of water. His research to try to find a way to become truly immortal hadn't really made any progress, but that could be done for a later date. He had a long time to figure it out, as long as they didn't die in battle, which was looking more and more unlikely. Aside from the fact that nobody in the world could find them, there was also no one strong enough to match their combined power. As he knew, Zana wouldn't just watch if he was ever threatened now. He belonged to her, and if anyone ever tried anything, they would have to get past her first. As he felt the exact same way, anyone that tried to steal her, they would be dead at the end of his claws. The small pouch for a chakra that she placed in him was dormant in the Reaper Dead seal. not interfere with the senjutsu. It served as a constant reminder of their bond. Good morning, Zana murmured as she woke up, but she did not raise her head as she was lying on top of his chest. Morning, said Naruto. Neither one of them made any move to get up. They would get up when they were ready, and no sooner. They would eventually leave this place, but for now, they were just gonna laze around. Time skip. Zetsu couldn't believe how lucky he was, considering how much trouble Uzumaki had caused from Madara's plan. This current good fortune, it was too good to be true. The Sandaime and Nanabi had been sealed, leaving only the Hatsubi and the Kyuubi. Remarkably, having the Sandaime at the bottom of the ocean napping was a good thing in the end. If that idiot Obito was still alive, Zetsu might have been tempted to be nicer to him. Before his death, Madara had theorized that it would be possible to use the Rinnegan Outer Path to summon the Bijuu if the Rinnegan bearer was connected to the Gedo statue. Madara was too old to, well, really do it. So he settled for the original plan of extracting the Bijuus from their Shinjuki. It was safer that way than summoning a completely unrestrained Bijuu. Left with no other choice but to try it, Black Zetsu had convinced Nagato to allow him to merge with him and connect him to the Gedo statue. They were ready to do battle with the angry Bijuu, but it turned out to be simple in the end. Being made entirely of chakra, the Sandaime was unable to do anything when it comes to the Preta Path, and it was highly vulnerable to the Outer Path Black Rods. Sensing a piece of its lost power, the Gedo statue released its chains and wrapped around the Sandaime and inhaled it. The only problem was getting Nagato's crippled body out of the way fast enough. There was a slight delay in the summoning, so it could be done. So that is why the remaining 3 members of the Akatsuki was rather shocked how quickly it was done. They might have been done already, and the world would have been sleeping peacefully in the Tsukuyomi if Zetsu knew that it was this easy to seal away the Bijuus. Or maybe not, considering that every other Bijuu except for the Kyuubi was sealed away. Well, it didn't really matter in the end because the plan was close to completion in either case, especially since he learned that the Kyuubi was actually free. Pain was frustrated to learn that Naruto had gone rogue, because he was about to launch his attack on Konoha, only to find out that Naruto was no longer there. Zetsu had went to spy in the village, trying to find out if he was there, but he found something more valuable. The man had gone rogue because he was in a relationship with the Kyuubi. Absurdly, of the information aside, Zetsu knew that the Kyuubi was sanctioned, unlike the other Bijuus. So, the information wasn't misleading. It wrangled him that it took him so long to figure this out, especially finding out that it had been free for years now, because they could have long since sealed the demon already, and Uzumaki wouldn't even been a factor if they had knew that. Well, if he had knew that. That was unimportant though. What was important is, the mightiest of the Bijuu was free, so it could be summoned and sealed easily. After that, it would be time to betray Nagato and Konan, and revive Madara. Technically, it might be possible to revive his creator right away, but he didn't want to risk it. It would take a lot of chakra to bring back someone who had been dead for so long, not to mention that Madara's body was badly decayed, which mean, well, it would suck up more chakra. If Zetsu forced Madara to use the Samsara of Heaven and Life right now, and he failed to revive Madara, then Nagato would be dead for nothing, and the plan would set back even more for further years. Either way, it was time to do this, and hope for the best. He was already merged with Nagato and linked to the Gedo statue by using the Mokiton. The 6 paths of pain were standing nearby to subdue the Kyuubi, each of them holding on to a black rod. Konan nearby as well, to move Nagato out of the way. They should expect retaliation, but this was going to be a surprise, and it's not like Uzumaki knew where they were. Summoning technique. 9 tails. Zana was currently on top of Naruto, as she had her eyes closed but she wasn't sleeping. She felt a jerk as her eyes widened. Before Naruto could ask her what was wrong, she was gone in a poof of smoke. Having a naked redhead appear when you were expecting a giant 9-tailed fox was something of a shocking development, but these shinobis were far too experienced to be deterred by something like this, and they attacked. But Zana was not one to let something surprise her, launching herself at the nearest enemy as she saw their Akatsuki clothing. But that closest enemy was a Preta Path, and her hand dematerialized in the chakra as it got close. Only after that happened, she noticed the 6 pairs of Rinnegan eyes in the room. This was a sight that caused her to freeze in shock. The Rinnegan was supposed to be lost. She couldn't understand how there was supposed to be 6 pairs with it. The moment of distraction was enough as they threw the chakra rods. Most of them were dodged, but 3 of them stabbing to her. With a loud roar, her body distorted as she transformed back into her fox form. For the first time in decades, the vibration blowing the other rods away that they tried to throw at her. She avoided the bulky one with a slip back here, as he had some absorption ability. As the old man never go into depth of explaining his eyes, as he thought after him they would forever be lost to the world. As her paw came down with tremendous speed, smashing a long ear one down into the ground. More chakra rods were thrown at her, giving her a big size, causing her chakra to destabilize even more. The Prita path was also draining her chakra as well, further weakening her. The Naruto path, summoned the king of hell and revive the destroyed human path. Xana dissolved her body in the place where the chakra rods had stabbed her, caused them to fall down to the ground. She fired a blast from her mouth straight towards that monster thing that came from the ground, along with the two Rinnegan wielders around it to destroy them. Her attack was blocked by a force from Deva path, causing the beam to curve and smash into the wall. Xana jumped back as she fired a beam right into the ground, where the one that was draining her chakra was, as it exploded. Now that she had some breathing space, she started to charge up a Biju bomb, as she was gonna fire it right under her feet and blew everything to smithereens. Her plans were interrupted though by a Rinnegan technique that she was familiar with. Almighty push! She was blown back by the force, as any other attacks that she tried would have been interrupted, so she turned her head upwards to collapse the large cave that they were in. But suddenly, purple glowing chains shot through her. As she felt her chakra being drained far faster, she felt weaker than before. As she felt her body sway to the side. Taking a look behind her, she saw a massive dried up creature with 9 eyes. The chains were coming from its mouth, and her chakra was being eaten by this thing. Unable to fight back any further, she tried to prevent her chakra from being stolen anymore, but it was impossible. The creature had a hole on it, and it was impossible of stopping it. Next to the statue was a sickly, crippled man with red hair and the Rinnegan eyes. He had multiple chakra rods in his back, and half of his face was completely black. Next to him was a blue-haired woman. Success. We have captured the Kyuubi, and it's only a matter of time before they seal into the Gedo statue. Only a matter of time left before we go after the Haxabi, and then peace can begin. Xana narrowed her eyes at the words, trying to make sense of everything that happened and was still happening. As she looked towards the thing, she could also sense her siblings in there, but the chakra was mashed together. Of what remained of their minds, she could sense nothing. She knew that this creature would destroy her if she was pulled into it. With a sinking feeling, she realized what this was. It had to be the physical shell of the Shinju. When the old sage had explained their origins, he made no mention of such a thing. But Xana had figured out over time that something like this must exist. After all, the other minor demons, where did they came from? Another realization that struck her. She or Naruto never thought about it. Just what was the Akatsuki sealing the Bijus into? As they thought they were just a bunch of idiots, sealing them into objects or something else. For the first time in countless ages, she was afraid. There was time when she wished for her end, but this time was one of them. In fact, she has never wanted to live more than she did now. The thought of what her death would do to Naruto did not make her feel better. She was too quick to think herself invulnerable. Her careless threat of the Akatsuki, thinking them as nothing but a bunch of idiots, were rubbed off on Naruto, who thought of them as an idiot bunch as well. And he just wanted to use them to try and find a way to become immortal. They did not think of them as a true threat. For 1,000 of years, there has been no true threat to her existence. Despite Jashin being able to steal her power, she thought there was nothing the world could throw at her. They could have wiped these fools out a long time ago, if they had taken them seriously. But now she was trapped, and she needed Naruto to save her. She wanted to keep enjoying her new life with him, not end up as lunch for this carcass of a god. The crippled Rinnegan bearer was too weak to take on Naruto, as she already feel it. The others were just puppets being used by him. He was using those black rods to feed the others his chakra. It was a clever workaround for his disability, but he was still a crutch, as Naruto did not have her weakness, seeing as she was weak against anything that could absorb chakra, Fuin Jutsu and the Rinnegan abilities. But he had no such restriction. That being said, if it wasn't for the Gedo statue, she would have come out on top. Meanwhile, Naruto was already fully dressed, as he was focused on the mental connection to his wife, trying to find out what was going on. He could clearly sense that she was in battle, and something had shaken her badly. He could tell that the battle was over, and judging by the fear that he sensed within her, it did not end in her favor. Xana, what's going on? He said urgently. There's a Rinnegan wielder here. He is in possession of the Jobi physical body, and is intending to seal me within it. Find me. I don't know how long I can resist its pull. And if he succeeds, I will be destroyed. As Naruto locked onto the closest Harashin and teleported to it, but he was still too far away from her. As he shot forward, as Zana told him what happened. As she told him about the Rinnegan abilities that she saw. As she told him about the bodies of the paths and the real one. And the information on Chakra Drainer. She was sure he couldn't absorb Naruto's Senjutsu Chakra without being a sage. As Naruto paused as he tried to absorb some Senjutsu. As he hadn't absorbed any for the past 2 months. But he was too filled with rage right now to stay calm. I don't have time for this shit, he said. As every second he wasted, Zana was getting more and more absorbed into that thing. And he couldn't absorb natural energy because of the state of mind he was in. Screw that. He used his powerful life force as a weapon. As he ripped natural energy out of the air. The world twisted in a way that only people with natural energy could sense. But he didn't really care about that. As he forced the natural energy into submission and locked it away. Now in stage mode, he continued his chase to where his wife was guiding him. As he moved like a bullet. Why is it taking so long? The Sandaime was sealed almost immediately, Conan asked. Zetsu had already left Pain's body, seeing no further need for the position at this very moment. He would possess him again and revive Madara soon enough. Only the black half of him was here, as Madara's body was being recovered by the white half. Before Zetsu or Pain could say anything on what Conan said, Zana spoke up. You are fools if you think me to be the same as my mindless sibling, she said. You can speak, Pain said. Slightly surprised at that. Well, he should have expected it, after seeing her transform into a human woman. Of course I can speak, you worthless cripple. I see that despite having those eyes, you're just as worthless as the rest of your species, she said. It does not matter. You are a necessary sacrifice so the world can have peace. Through Pain, said Pain. You are a fool, and you will never know how it ends. By attempting to harm me, you have invited the wrath of my husband, and he will find you. And he lacked the weakness that I have against your abilities. As she felt him coming. You speak of your Jinchuriki, Uzumaki Naruto. He too will fall before the power of God. None can stand in the way of Pain. Zana snorted, if you are a god, then what is he? Think of that, while he tears you apart. After that, she went silent. Timeskip, Tekamaru was a Jonin in charge of one of the rain borders, as he was a veteran. As he was over 40 years old, there for quite some time now. Nothing really ever happened here, due to it being at the, well, border of the fire country. Tekamaru was great for that, as he had seen enough war in his lifetime already, and you'd be glad if he didn't have to ever fight again. His wife and son was also grateful for it. They knew how dangerous a life of a shinobi was. He didn't really buy into the whole god thing that Pain had spread about, but he knew that the man was monstrally powerful. Either way, Pain was better than Hanzo as a leader, but not by much. If nothing else, he let Conan, the angel of the hidden rain, run the village in his place, as she was better than two. Tekamaru kept his mouth shut as he knew that Pain's real name was Nagato, as he heard about the man before Hanzo's death. That little bit of knowledge was one of the main reasons why he didn't buy into the man being a god. Tekamaru-sama, something is coming from the east. He was snapped from his thoughts as he turned his head. As one of the shinobi had pointed out to him, he looked towards a forest up ahead that led into Fire Country. And the forest was destroyed into that section, so Hanzo could see if anyone tried to invade his village. So there was nothing but a wide open area with rain. It was hard to see as the rain was pouring down hard, but not impossible. As he saw birds scattering, but not just birds, all animals were fleeing the forest, both predator and prey running for their life. They then felt it, pure rage, murderous killing intent, and death wash over them. The source of all of that was a very big man with long blonde hair flowing behind him. He was just running, charging directly towards them, paying no attention to his surroundings. Tekamaru had no idea who this was, but he wasn't supposed to let him in the country. Timeskip, Tekamaru lay down into his own blood, not even bother trying to move his hand to press into his side to stop the blood flow. There was no point, seeing that a large part of his stomach was ripped out. He had recognized the blonde just moments before he hit their defensive line. Uzumaki Naruto, the newest and most dangerous entry in the bingo book. Not that his knowledge changed anything, because none of them were able to stop him. He was like a beast, a monster. Some of them had actually survived because Uzumaki was just running straight in the village. Tekamaru tried to stop as he entered into his path, but a claw hand had ripped through his side. Elemental techniques and weapons were thrown at him, but they were ignored. as he simply bounced off his body like nothing. Take Maru sigh at his pointless death. He was gonna be killed by a man who probably didn't even remember what was happening here, what he had done. At the very least, he could rest assured his wife and son would be safe for now. Uzumaki had only killed them because they were in his way, so he clearly wasn't going to go after any civilians. He could make a wild guess that Pain had done something to provoke this blonde to this battle, and he knew that this battle was going to make some change in the landscape. He was relieved though, as Pain and Konan were not in the village right now. They had moved closer to the border of Earth Country for some unknown reason. It meant that the Hinrain was likely to escape the destruction that was about to follow soon. Meanwhile, Naruto got right through the Hinrain, not wasting time just going where Zana was leading him. He could feel the air saturated with chakra, so he didn't care if they were prepared that he was coming. Meanwhile, Peinan moved his 6 paths a distance away from the cave to wait for Uzumaki's arrival. It wouldn't take long at the speed that he was moving, as he could feel the chakra. He could feel how powerful it was, much stronger than his own. It was also behaving like a caged beast that would tear him to pieces at any moment notice. It was like Naruto's reaction towards the news was twisting his chakra into ways to further mimic his own actions. Despite all of this, Pain was fully confident that he would not lose. He was a god after all, and his version of peace would be the one that is standing out on top when all of this is said and done. Naruto arrived as he didn't slow down when he saw the 6th man, as he knew that this was the 6 paths of Pain. He could finish them when she was safe. He was going after her first. Pain was gonna monologue a bit before the battle started, but Naruto wasn't slowing down, not even a bit. The animal path quickly summoned a giant rhino to meet Naruto head on, but Naruto simply pulled back his fist and smashed it into the thing's head. It was sent sailing back towards the summoner with its entire skull shattered. Not even sparing a glance, he leaped as he made his way towards the cave. Universal pull. Naruto roared in rage as he was pulled away from his goal. Turning back, he saw there was one that Zana identified as Leva Path. He was familiar enough with gravity, thanks to his use of Fuinjutsu, to identify for what it was. He would have to at least destroy that one before he moved forward, as he sent a chain rushing towards it. The Prida Path came in the front of it though, as Naruto moved forward as he was gonna shred them with his claws. But the two of them leaped out of the way, but Naruto stabbed his chain in the ground as he twisted himself around, throwing himself towards the revival path. But the animal path quickly summoned the revival path out of danger. Naruto snarled as he updated his plan. Revival. Animal, if he could not take the revival out first, then Deva Path. He didn't even know what the others could do, as he didn't really care what the Azura or human path could do, since Zana only got their names, as she didn't see their abilities. The sense of urgency pulsing in his skull made him think of a tactic he would have never used otherwise. Multi-shot clone jutsu. The massive army of clones rushed towards the cave where Pain's true body was, as they were gonna beat him into nothingness. Pain's eyes widened slightly, as his true body wouldn't be able to defend against all of them, and he wasn't sure that Konan or Zetsu could keep them all at bay without one of them getting through. He sent the Azura path after the clones, counting that the missiles could keep the clones at bay. As Naruto went after the animal path, as he could just summon the other paths out of the way, so he was gonna destroy him first. The human and Prida path tried to block him, but found himself completely overpowered. The paths were incredibly strong and durable, but with Naruto's raw strength, they were nothing, as they couldn't even leap out of the way because the animal path was right behind them, so they had to engage in taijutsu with Naruto. They tried to hold on to him so the human path could remove his soul, but Naruto didn't give it a chance as he assaulted it with multiple chains and tear its head right off the claw swipe. The Prida path moved forward to absorb the chains, but Naruto saw that as he moved into it, making the thing grab his own arm. The moment he felt it absorbing his chakra, he pushed the natural energy as the thing turned into stone. Inside the cave, the real Pain had sweat pouring down his face at the effort of concentration. Focusing 6 bodies on a target was one thing, but being pressed this hard by one opponent, it was another thing entirely. And the clones weren't being stupid, even the Azura path was having problems with them. As Naruto turned his gaze towards the animal path, pure murdering intent, as he was about to chase after it when he heard, "Almighty push!" Naruto was sent sailing as he crashed into a boulder. Pain quickly summoned the human path, as he used the revival path to bring it back. When Naruto picked himself up and saw the human path was on its feet once again, he lost it, and the memories of his clones being dispelled. He roared, as he pulled on nature energy even harder than before. The only thing he knew that he needed to destroy these pests as he didn't even know what he was doing. Pain watched his ground crack from the blonde's roar as a sudden wind picked up. His Rinnegan allowed to see the chakra turn in the air along the natural energy as the both of them were being torn and ripped and they were being stored within Naruto. Looking into those golden irises, Pain couldn't see anything human anymore. The only thing he saw was rage and anger that would not be calm. It seems like Uzumaki Naruto's sanity was dependent on a factor or something. And by what he have learned recently, this must be the Kyuubi. Seeing that the Bijou was sentient and was able to take human form and called itself his wife. Yes, it made sense. The wind had turned into a tornado and nothing Pain did was able to stop it, even using the almighty push. But nothing was working. The thing returned back. The powerful wind picked the animal path off the ground and pulled it towards Naruto. Pain knew he couldn't use a universal pull to get out of this, so he tried to summon the bird. But a chain had stopped him and he didn't want to risk losing Tendo Pain. As the Deva path leaped away, Naruto ripped his arm right through the animal path's chest and threw him straight up in the air. The body caught on fire as it broke through Earth's gravity wall. The thing was thrown out into orbit. Pain knew that there was only one thing to do. Planetary devastation, he said. As he needed chakra, he can all the chakra he needed for this technique. So the other bodies fell down to the ground as he abandoned them for this technique. The planetary devastation will destroy them as well, but he could always find other bodies to use as his paths. Back inside, you don't have to go that far, Konan said, as she knew how much strain that technique put on him, even if he hadn't used all of his chakra yet. But summoning the Kyuubi was difficult. I have no choice, my opponent is more monster than man, said Pain. Useless. All of your effort is useless. He will not be stopped, said Zana. Just rub it in. She was delaying, her chakra draining as much as possible, but she didn't have much time left. Aside from that, she felt a familiar feeling from this cripple, idiot Rinnegan, and she didn't know what it was. Black Zetsu stayed silent as he hoped this will be the end of Naruto Uzumaki, so the Eye of the Moon plan could get back on track. He was ready to make his move though, in case things didn't went so well. Even if Uzumaki won the battle outside, Madara Vision will come through. Although the plan had been rather derailed. It was good if the blonde had died first. Meanwhile, as Naruto stabbed his chains into the ground, keeping him from being pulled into that thing. His rage was still there, but he knew if he was trapped inside that thing, he wouldn't be able to help Zana at all. As he fired out his chains towards the cave. There will be no escape from this cave, Uzumaki. I will crush you into the ground and pave the way to the future. As Naruto wondered what the man was, he looked up as he saw the meteor dropping towards him. Naruto snarled as he threw himself towards the rock, knowing that he couldn't dodge it. Gates of opening. Gate of healing. Gate of life. Open! His chakra network didn't appreciate the sudden fluctuation of yang, nature chakra, especially when it was filled with already nature energy. There was a lack of yin chakra, and it unbalanced things greatly, but he just didn't care. Ready in his fists. Planet Crusher! His fist hit the thing with so much force, it would have literally cracked the ground open if he had hit the world with it. So the Rinnegan ball did not stand a chance. As soon as Naruto hit the ground, he launched himself towards the Deva path, but the body sway and fall. He didn't know what was going on, but all he did was kick the body's head off as he rushed towards the cave. Nagato, Konan said. Blood was dripping from her mouth due to the chakra rod stabbed through her chest as she looked towards the betrayal, as the hand was coming from Nagato that stabbed her, but the hand was completely black as Zetsu had bonded with her friend once again. Nagato's mind all but shut down at the sight, unable to deal with the sight of his last friend being injured by his own hand. Having Yaiko die by his own hand had broken him, and to see the same thing happen to Konan that he did, he couldn't cope with it, as Zetsu had to make sure this happened, to make sure Nagato shut down. After all, Nagato would resist his control. That is why he stabbed Konan. He started to suck power away from Gedo statue as he used it. Outer path. Samsara of the heavenly life technique, he said. Xander was surprised by the betrayal, but what she sensed when the technique activated surprised her. Though it had been long gone and changed since then, she could feel a hint of Madara chakra inside those Rinnegan eyes. What threw her though, it felt familiar to Senju Hashirama chakra. Zetsu felt the technique pulling raw amount of chakra and life force from Nagato, as he knew that it was good to siphon off some of the Bijou chakra to start this. After all, Madara was very powerful and his body was old and decayed. Something like that was not easily overcome because the Rinnegan granted this technique. Naruto destroyed the Rinnegan, Zana said, hoping to stop the technique. The newly arrived Naruto launched himself, wasting no time. Zetsu simply smirked as he saw his death coming. They were too late. Madara had already been restored to his prime. And even with the Rinnegan lost, there was a new set of Mangekyo Sharingan waiting for its arrival to evolve into the Rinnegan soon enough. As Naruto clawed and ripped through the thing, tearing out the Rinnegan eyes as well. As Naruto wastes no time as he looked towards his wife. He leaped himself as he launched towards the chains. You can't remove the chains, Naruto. Seal me quickly, Zana said, knowing that her time was run out. Damn it, hold on a moment, I need to purge the natural engine from the seal, he said, as he moved to do just that. No time, Zana said, she knew it would be too late any second now. As Naruto grabbed onto her chakra and he tried to seal it that way. But the Gedo statue was too strong. Zana reached out to the small fragment of chakra that she had left inside of Naruto. As Naruto fell back when the fur suddenly poof into red chakra and was pulled inside the Gedo statue. Naruto blinked. As he looked up at the Gedo statue, he failed. He actually failed. She was gone. He lost her. Meanwhile, at a distance to the north, a man without eyes awoken and smiled darkly. His long-awaited resurrection had finally happened, meaning that his Eye of the Moon plan was nearly completion. Zetsu, he said, as he didn't feel his servant chakra. Madara-sama, one of the white Zetsu said. Where are we, and what is the status of the plan? We're in the mountain graveyard. As for the plan, there has been complications. Madara frowned. Tell me everything, he said. Meanwhile, Konan coughed. That drew Naruto's attention towards her. Uncaring of her condition, he kicked her over as she lay on her back. His gaze was completely dead, his eyes looking blank. You kept me from saving her. You prevent my clones from reaching the real body and make me fight those puppets outside, said Naruto. Konan couldn't help the chill that went up her spine. The tone in his voice, it was dead, completely. What made it worse was, she and Nagato were just being used as pawn in someone else's plan. Their piece was taken and twisted by Madara's plan. And no Zetsu treachery, as he probably brought back Madara with that technique. She really didn't understand the relationship between this man and the Kyuubi, but the tone of his voice told her everything she needed to know. Their actions had destroyed his life, and the end. Madara came out on top, the one that she hated. The three of them, her, Nagato, and Yaiko, wanted to be the ones that brought peace. So people didn't suffer like them when they were children. Know that everything was revealed. She knew that Yaiko would have been ashamed of them and the ruin that they have caused. And he would be angry that Nagato had used his body to do it. She would have apologized, but she knew how hard it would be. Apology couldn't bring back something that is lost. As she looked up at him with regret in her eyes and waited for him to kill her, the wound that Zetsu had inflicted on her would be fatal if not treated immediately. But she was sure the blonde that was looming over her would end her before that injury could claim her life. As Naruto looked at her, if he killed her, it didn't matter. She was gonna die soon anyway. As he felt pain, a pain that he couldn't really comprehend. If he had taken Akatsuki as a true threat and eliminated them all right away, then none of this would have happened. His mind wandered through the past 2 months, thinking about him with his wife. Enjoyed their time just a couple hours ago. Out of sheer habit, he reached towards a piece of the chakra that was in his seal that she gave him. He froze. It's about time. I thought you were just gonna keep moping. Even though the words sound mocking, they were spoke in a fond tone. Sana? You alright? Well, in a manner of speaking, she said. But we can talk about that later. There are several things you need to take care of first, such as that woman and the Gedo statue. Konan looked at him as he just stood over her like a statue for several minutes. At first he seemed dazed. Then he looked focused. Then it looked like he was about to cry. No, he was focusing back, and it looked like he got some control over himself. What was the technique being used just before I came in here? The same Sorrow of Heaven and Life. A resurrection technique that allows a Rinnegan user to trade his own life and chakra to bring back someone from the dead, Konan explained, ignoring the pain that she felt. If her last act was to give information to this boy to make sure he stopped Madara, well, at least she could do that. Who was being brought back? Madara, I think, she said. As Naruto nodded, but the both of them were thinking of two different Madara. Why, he asked next. Why were you doing this, he said. Nagato and I just wanted to continue Yaiko's dream and create a peaceful world. But Nagato lost his way and I followed him, she said. All we ended up doing was causing more pain, she said. Naruto did not know who Yaiko or Nagato were, but he could guess that one of them was a Rinnegan user. But from what? He was told by Zana that Rinnegan had Madara chakra in it, so it probably never belonged to either of them in the first place. As he looked towards the cripple, his face was clawed off in the machine. We were Jiraiya's student, and we couldn't live up to his vision of peace. I know he was your teacher as well. Do you want to create peace as well, she asked. Naruto clenched his teeth and made a mental thought to kick the shit out of Jiraiya for not mentioning that there was a Rinnegan user out there. He looked towards Konan. I don't care about peace or the world, or all of that fantasy crap. I came here to save my wife from a bastard who thought that he could do anything because of a pair of eyeballs. Now I'm getting out of this rat hole, and I'm gonna find Madara and send him to the abyss. Konan nodded slightly, as she was not surprised. He didn't seem like the type to care for peace, but he didn't seem like the type to care for war either. He just wanted the woman that he loved. You said you wanted peace, said Naruto. She nodded silently. Do you want your friends back as well? She looked at him confused, but he couldn't have a way to bring them back, could he? But she nodded. Then I hope you see them. As he pulled one of the chakra rod out of the ground and stabbed it right into her chest, burying it deep. Blood leaked from her mouth as she died. If you wanted peace, then you shouldn't have wasted time fighting in this world, said Naruto. But guys, be in subs right here. If you want to see the next part, so do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto was the direct descendant of the sage over an anime king. And I also post a brand new episode of What If Naruto was betrayed by Hagoromo. So go ahead and enjoy it as well. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. And yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.